Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to the Toliss A330-900 flight test. And also a bit of a test of my audio settings and recording abilities, which will be by itself a bit of a challenge. So we are here with the magnificent Toliss A330-900 at Newcastle, where you can see we've had a bit of rain overnight and a bit of a temperature inversion, which means that we've got some foggy weather. But this aircraft just absolutely looks amazing. And just a short flight today. I'm going to focus more on the setup and an overview of the operations of the aircraft. I'm going to take this down from Newcastle to Manchester Airport. It's just going to be about a 30-minute flight, but I want to take you through how to take this from cold and dark, like we see here, to a fully functioning aircraft, get it all set up for a flight, and then we'll take it down to Manchester, and hopefully I won't even botch the landing, but we'll see. It's a very, very nice looking thing. This is one of the default liveries that comes with the aircraft. You can also get a wide range of liveries, which I've just had a quick look at, and you can get real world liveries like Delta, or you can get some fictional ones which also look amazing, like British Airways, who don't actually fly this aircraft. They use the 350, but this is very nice. Shall we jump inside? I'm also going to switch on the audio from X-Plane. But yes, I am director, pilot, and everything else today, so it's all on my shoulders. So here we are. Oh, by the way, that does exist. There is a Marconi ground radar right there at Newcastle, which is quite cool. So Newcastle is my home base. This is where I fly from to go on holiday. It's not where I learned to fly. That's a little bit further north at an airfield called Eshot. Apologies if this is bouncing around, trying to get the edges of the screen lined up. You can just about make out the tower over there. It doesn't actually look like that. It's got a weird triangular conical base, and it's got the word Emirates on the side. And that's because there is a daily Emirates flight from Dubai to Newcastle, and Emirates put in quite a lot of money to Newcastle Airport to make that happen. So yeah, it was prior to the Emirates. It was quite a popular airport, but it's gone from strength to strength since Emirates started to use the airfield as well. So I will continue to call it an airfield, even though it's an airport, just because. Okay, so we're in the Toliss. Actually, one thing that we need to do, if I've not already done so, is in fact, let's have a quick look outside in the cabin, so we can have a look in the galley. Very nice, very, very wide even at this point in the aircraft. It's the A330 does tend to does expand very quickly in the fuselage. And then if we go down here, we can see some of the, I wouldn't say these are first class cabins. These look more like, maybe they are more like business, but it depends which airline you're on. Today we are flying on an Airbus Industry aircraft. This is really like a demonstrator aircraft. These look very economy. Hope you don't have knees, because this is looking a bit tight. And then as we head a bit further back, so this is the 242 layout, which is normally reserved for standard economy, so not premium economy, where you'd normally get like a 333 kind of layout, and there's more standard economy here. Okay, very nice. Let's jump back into the cockpit, because that's why we're all here, and then we can get this wonderful bird turned on. Let's just follow good operating procedures. Let's get this door closed. Let's get the door locked, because that's what we have to do now. Okay, so we're going to run through the proper checklists. If I go onto here, go to CL, can you see that okay? I wonder if there's a way that I can increase the settings. Start with bright displays, yes please. Maybe not. How do I increase the brightness of this? Is that what that's for? Maybe not. Okay, let's just roll with it. Preliminary cockpit preparation. Engine 1 and 2 master switches to off. So that's these switches here. They are both in the off position. Ooh, there's a little bit of rendering funniness going on there. Why isn't that showing up properly? It's a bit weird. Those should have numbers on as well. I wonder if it's a problem with this livery, but we'll see. Those ones have got the same sort of weird grey bit at the top. It's manageable. It's manageable. We'll figure it out. Okay. So engine 1 and 2 masters are off. Engine start selector is norm. That's what I've just fiddled with before. Weather radar and radar. What's all the predictive wind shear system is just down here. Let's move this armrest out the way. So we have. It's not really worked very well. If we go down here, we can see that system is off. Predictive wind shear is also off. Landing gear lever. Make sure it's down before you turn the power on so that the gear doesn't try to retract on the ground. That wouldn't be good for the insurance premiums. Wipers, check off. So captain's wiper is off and co-pilot's wiper is off. Battery 1, 2, APU battery check off. I know all these are off because I've set it to be off anyway, so let's just quickly skim through these. Battery 1, 2 there, set to auto. External power on. Well, that's not going to work right now because, how do I get to it? Ground services, here we go. Okay, so external power is connected. External power B is connected. This aircraft can require quite a lot of power because it's big. High pressure air, set those to on as well, and we've got chocks under the wheels, so we're not going to move anywhere. Let's go up to the electrical panel. Here it is. So this is the electrical panel. You can see that we have external B and external A. They're both available. Can turn one on, and I think if I click this one, does it stay available? No, we get both. Okay, so we've got what's that, 26.8 volts, I think? Something like that, I don't know. So once the power's on, in fact, let's not jump ahead. So I was going to say let's turn on the Adiroos, but let's not do that quite yet. So external power is on. After 20 minutes, we're not going to wait for that. We're not going to turn those off. All batteries above 25.5 volts. Yep, we've just said it's 20, was it 8 or 26 or something like that? 26.8. Right in the middle. External power is on. If starting APU now, which we will, APU fire push button in and guarded. So the fire panel is up here. Fire panel is all closed. Looks closed to me. Yep, so those are closed and guarded. And we'll be pushing this test button in a moment. So don't go away, because that'll be quite funny. That's in and guarded. APU fire light, fire agent light is out. Fire test, here we go. So this is what would happen if there was a fire detected in any of the engines or the APU. So we'll do the APU fire test first because that's what we're going to start first. Sounds like it works, and then we'll do the engines. So agent is it's like a foam spray that you can press that button and it'll just put the fire out. And you notice that there's 2 agents for each of the engines. If there's an engine fire, you'll use one. You'll wait a few seconds, and if that still hasn't extinguished the fire, you'll use the other agent. So it's 2 bottles just for redundancy. You may say, why don't you have two for the APU? Well, normally you don't fly with the APU switched on, so this is only used on the ground. If there's a fire that isn't extinguished by the agent on the ground, then you do an evacuation. But if you're mid-Atlantic, you don't always have that opportunity to evacuate very easily. So you've got a bit of redundancy with two fire extinguisher bottles. Done that. APU master. Let's turn on the APU. So the APU, the auxiliary power unit, is a small jet engine in the back of the aircraft. Let me just check. What have I not done? I've not turned on the batteries, and for some reason, getting some weird rendering quirks where these buttons aren't showing up properly. I am just going to quickly reload. Can I just reload the art? Let's reload the aircraft and the art. I'm hoping that'll make these go away. Otherwise, I'm just going to change the livery to something else. The default liveries don't seem to suffer from this problem where parts of the buttons are covered over, which is not great. Let's jump me back to the co-pilot side, which is what I asked it to do in the settings. So let's see, what has this done? What has this left us as? So we've got those two switched on. The aircraft has been switched on. I don't think this has actually put us straight back into the same situation we were in, to be honest. So if I go to ICSC, let's go back to quickly go back to external power on. So it's not quite cold and dark, but it's not far off it. So we have the air data inertial reference systems are still in the off position. Okay, so this looks pretty much like where we were before. That's what I was expecting to see before. So you only get one of these external power on at a time. The other one is auto, so if we do need any additional load, or we do get any additional load from the system, then the external power B will take up that load. Okay, so let's go through the rest of this checklist. Checklist. This is all done. That's all done. Done. Played around with our APU fire test, and now let's turn on. One good thing about the Airbus is if you haven't specifically selected, for example, the wheel page down here, so this will give you the temperatures of the wheels and the brake conditions and stuff like that. If you turn that off, it will automatically choose the best view for you here. So what we can do is if we go up to the APU master switch, turn that on, that should bring up the APU page down here, which it does. And I believe the next thing it will ask us to do, so we've turned on the master, APU push button if I'm battery only, don't know what that means to be honest, and then we'll start the APU by hitting the start button down here. Sorry if anyone's getting any motion sickness from moving around so much. And then what we should start to see on the APU screen down here is we have the turbine speed is increasing, and that will then go up to 100. We've got exhaust gas temperature down here, 500 plus degrees Celsius. And as this starts to head up towards 100, the flap open just means that air can come into the APU, the front of the APU turbine. And then once that gets to a certain point up here, we'll start to see the APU generator kick online. That will say 100%, and then we should get a number of volts at 400 Hertz. 115 volts at 400 Hertz. Now we haven't turned on the bleed air, so the APU also outputs high pressure air, which we can plug into the air conditioning system, which I believe may be one of the things that we do next. But then the APU start, and then it says APU bleed on. So if we go up here to the air conditioning system, we can turn on the APU bleed, and you can see those fault lights for the PACs, the passenger air conditioning kits. They go dark, which means, so the way that Airbus designed its cockpits is it uses the lights out principle. It should be dark unless there's a problem or something that you need to be aware of. So APU bleed should not be on during flight. This should all be off. Again, external power, you're not going to have that available to you in the air. So when you're in the air, if everything is looking good, then this will be a dark panel. You can always press the test button, which is, where's the test button? It's there. So you can always test to make sure that the lights are actually working, which you should always do before you go flying. Okay, so let's go back down to our checklist. Turn on the APU bleed. We've got a little bit of air coming through the passengers. Air conditioning panel, all white lights. Air conditioning panel. Is that what we were just on? All white lights. I mean, we've got the APU bleed on. Don't think there's anything else we need to do there, is there? Light controls. Blah 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 blah. Oh, nope. Still haven't turned on the data inertial reference systems yet. Come on, we need to get that done soon because it takes a little while. Air conditioning panel, all lights. Let's see. All white lights off. Yes, that's right. Cross bleed to auto. Yes, that's standard. Temperature, don't care. Cockpit lights is required, not required. External power as required. We've got A and B switched on. ECAM recall. So the ECAM, the engine control alert monitoring system, something like that, or electric crew alert monitoring system. So if we go down to the recall button here, if we hold that down for 3 seconds, okay, so it just said normal up there. We will be changing the amount of fuel in the aircraft in a moment. You may be asking, why don't we have the artificial horizon? Why don't we have the navigational display? And that's because we haven't turned the air data inertial reference systems on. So the plane doesn't know where it is. We haven't told the plane where it is in the world, and it hasn't got its laser ring gyroscopes fired up yet. So it's not detecting any motion of the aircraft either, so it can't track movement. So right now the plane is completely blind to where it is. Ooh, we've got stairs now. That's good. You can see outside it's still looking pretty miserable. Where's that guy going? Don't trust him. Where are you going, van man? Watch me new plane. Okay, checklist. ECAM recall we've done. ECAM oxygen pressure we don't care about. Hydraulic quantity, I'll show you where it is. It should be fine. So if we go to the hydraulic page, you will see that we have these green bars down the side here, and that shows that the hydraulic quantity is in the maximum zone at the top there. So we've got plenty of hydraulic fluid. Engine oil quantity. So if we go to the engine page, I think it's in here. So we've got quantity is in there. It's got a little green line which suggests to me that that is absolutely fine. Don't know if you've guessed, I'm not actually an A330 pilot. I'm just a Cessna student pilot, but also a massive nerd. Flaps, check position. So this is just for entertainment purposes only. So flaps are up, not for any sort of flight instruction purposes. Speed brake, check retracted and disarmed. So that's down here. So that's retracted and disarmed. It pops up when it's armed. Speed brake is done. Accumulator pressure. Where do we see the accumulator pressure? That's the brakes. Brakes. It'll be on the wheels, won't it? Accumulator. That's in green. So I'm going to think that that's absolutely fine. Let's go with fine. It's a simulator after all. Parking brake is on. Brake pressure check. Let's say yes. Chocks are in place. Parking brake can come off. Let's move this thing out the way. Go out the way. Let's turn the parking brake off. Make sure we're not rolling. We aren't rolling. Parking brake is off. Brake pedals pressed. Brake pressure checked. Brake pedals released. Parking brake on. Ah, okay. So what you need to do to turn the parking brake on is you first need to push the brakes down and then turn the parking brake, but it seems to do it itself, so. Okay, bit strange. We've done our first checklist, people. Cockpit preparation. Overhead panel, all white lights are off. Yes. Check. Recorder ground control to on. That is ground control to Major Tom on. Check. Evacuation purser captain switch as required. So if there's an evacuation, the right now it's set to only the captain can issue the evacuation command, but with the switch up you can set it to be the captain or the purser. So never actually played with that system. Maybe we'll do it when we get to Manchester. Adaroos mode select 1, 2, 3 to nav. Here we go. So we can now start to turn these on. Nope, too far. So these are now on, and that will then start giving us some location information. You can see the parts of the primary flight display are coming alive. It says down here GPS primary lost. That should come back once we've got the AD/IRS systems on, so that's now come to life. Still no nav. We do need to set up the flight management system, the MCDUs. So that's in nav. Reset panels left, I don't know what that means. External light strobe to auto. Beacon off. Nav logos and others as required. So let's sort the lights out. So we should have our nav light plus the tail light set to on. So we want strobe to auto. Runway turn lights are off. Landing lights are off. Nose light is off. Beacon is not on yet because we haven't got the engines running. We'll put the seatbelt sign on, and we'll just leave the no portable electric device sign off. And we also need to arm the emergency exit lights. There we go. I'm sure that'll be further down the list. There's the emergency exit lights, no portable devices, and these are all as I want them to be. Probe window heat. So the aircraft is fitted with a bunch of heaters, whereby we can. Okay, so if we turn that off, then it's set to auto. Otherwise, we can override it and force the probe and the window heat. The probe is the effectively the pitot tube, which allows the aircraft to understand its speed and altitude. Probe window heat is auto. Cabin pressure landing elevation set to auto. Cabin pressure landing elevation set to auto. We've got mode selectors auto. This is all just going to manage the cabin pressure for us. This is one of the beauties of the Airbus system. If you fly a 737, you have to set up your altitudes and everything yourself. So the pressure valve was both. That was norm. ECAM. Back down to the second screen. Electric DC page call. And what are we looking for? We're looking for battery, APU bat off, then auto. I'm not going to do that. So we're just looking for less than 60 amps after we've looked at the DC page. Okay, so electric DC page is there, and we're looking for less than 60 amps across the board. 39, 39, 41. Why is the APU? Have we not got the APU power switched on? Not yet. That's why the APU DC output is still in orange. Fuel tank mode is auto. That happens by default when you go into this when you start up the aircraft in this mode. Engine. We've done the fire test. Don't know why it's got it multiple times. Maintenance panel, all lights were off. Ventilation panel, all lights are off. Before pushback, load sheet. Okay, so let's go into Avi tab. Let's go into our charts, and then today we have. Where is my chart gone? I've just had this. could have sworn that I just saved that. Let me just resave it. You won't be able to see this, but I am just trying to... Let's pop it in that folder there. So it's in up one directory, up one directory, up one directory. I've put it into the output folder for some reason, and then there should be egnt, egcc. Here we go. So if we now look at this is really cool. I do like Avitab. This will take us through our flight plan from Newcastle to Manchester. It's an A330-9. We've got a Canadian registration for some reason, and let's have a look. Cost index will be 19, so that's quite low, which it's what you'd expect on a lightly loaded, very short flight. Ground distance is 121 miles, air distance 125, great circle distance is 103. Average wind will be from the west-ish at 17 knots. Average wind correction will be -8. Average ISA will be -4, so basically the atmosphere will be colder than normal across the average flight. Taking a bit of extra fuel. Average fuel burn in pounds per hour is 11 imperial tons of fuel per hour. And takeoff alternate. Yeah, so if we take off and we can't get back to Newcastle, we'll head to Manchester anyhow. And if we can't get into Manchester, we have set up another alternate, which is LHR, London Heathrow, which will take us 34 minutes. So the trip will take us 27. We've got 15 minutes of contingency fuel. We've got 34 minutes to get down to Heathrow, and then we've got 30 minutes of final reserve fuel to do whatever we want. So minimum takeoff fuel is 19.1 tons, but we'll be filling up with 30.3 metric tons imperial tons of fuel. So let's do that. Let's go to weight and balance. Fuel on board, I can change this to 20,300. 20,300. Is this kilos? That's showing kilos there, so we need to change this to settings. How do I get this to use pounds rather than aircraft and sim config? Use imperial units. Yes, there we go. Weight and balance. So we're not taking 44 metric tons, we're taking 20,300 imperial tons of fuel. So we're below the max landing weight, so if we have an issue we can immediately land. I don't think we're going to take... should we take some passengers on this flight? Yeah, let's take some passengers. Let's keep it interesting. Let's let our max landing weight go slightly above what it should be, so we may need to do some fuel dumping if we have an issue, which I've got no plans to. I don't really have time to today, to be honest with you. We haven't set the runway performance. This is really cool. So once we put some information in about the flight and tell the aircraft where we are, where we're going, what runway we're using, this will all come to life. You can see some nice visuals about the runway. So let's just quickly work through this. Load sheet checked. Fuel quantity. Well, we've asked for 20,300. If we go to fuel. Where's fuel? Where am I missing fuel? There it is. I'm looking straight at it and completely ignoring it. Fuel on board has been completely ignored, and I've got 132 tons of fuel. How do I make it do that? So fuel on board is that. Is this loading? Forward cargo, block fuel, here we go. So I haven't set up in here. So we're really not taking that much fuel at all. Let's take 25 tons just because, or 25,400. Quick refuel. See the plane is bouncing around because it doesn't usually refuel that fast. We're going to take 200 passengers. Forward cargo. Let's have a quick look back at the Avi tab. What did we set for our payload today? We said that we were going to take a payload of 64.8 tons. 64.8. So let's take 30 and then 24.8 in the rear. So the red is landing CG limits. Okay, so I think we're good there. All within the envelope. We are going to take 198 packs. Apply these load settings. So 25.4 tons, 198 passengers. Taking 30,000 in the front. Taking 24,800 in the back. Oh no, 34,600 it should be, shouldn't it? 34,800. 64, so that's 30 in the front, 34.8 in the back. It's going to take us out of range, isn't it? 34.8. And then we are going to have to take less cargo than this, aren't we? Let's just take 23. That's going to give us 58 on the nose. So we'll do that. Weight and balance 58. 24. Let's just overtype this. 24. Why can't I overtype this? Come on. Not let me do it. 24, 200, and in the back 23, 200, 34, 800, 20, 232, 348, 232, 348, 232, 348. There we go. Right. Fuel on board. We are going to take a little bit more, aren't we? We're going to take 25,400, which puts us there. Which again, that all looks within margins. Don't know what the point is of this, if that already gives you the same details here. So we're just going to ignore the other screen, apply these settings, quick refuel, defuel. We've still got, why have those turned off? Because we reset the aircraft, didn't we? Aircraft sim config. Okay. So fuel's a bit higher than that, but that's fine. I'm a terrible pilot and we'll probably need to go around a few times at Manchester. CL, seating position's fine, thanks very much. HUD not equipped. Takeoff data, check, revise. We haven't done anything yet in here, so let's set up the MCDU. So we're going to go to the init page. We're going to set our company route as EGNT EGCC 01, and this will load the flight plan that I've previously set up in SimBrief. If you go to simbrief.com, you can set that up for free. We are flying under the call sign of AIB, which is Airbus Industry 305. Probably be 305P for a positioning flight, but there we go. 198 people on board. Cost index was quite low, 17. Cruise flight level. Did we have a cruise flight level set up in Avitab? What was our... Normally tells you at the top. I imagine it's probably going to be around about FL... flight level 100-ish. Can you see anything on here? Yeah, so flight level, step climb to flight level 150, and then after Gasco 140. 140? Flight level 140. So we'll be climbing to 1500, flight level 150. Bosh. From EGNT to EGCC, so if we go to the right, we can see additional information here. Does this auto-populate? No. So 0 fuel weight, based on weight and balance. 0 fuel weight is 398.2. 398.2. 398.2. Block fuel today was 25.4. Trip fuel was only 5 tons. It'll only take us 25 minutes. But we are expecting everything, really. All of the unexpected. So we're expecting to have to hold at Manchester. We're expecting to have to go down to Heathrow. Hold at Heathrow as well. We've got plenty of contingency fuel. But for a short flight like this, you can see just for a 5-ton trip fuel, we're actually taking 5 times as much. It's only when you start to look at very long flights, which is what this aircraft is designed for, that's when these sorts of amounts make sense. Okay, so we still haven't got... So the engines aren't turned on, nothing's turned on over there. Let's go back to our checklist because I'm getting a bit sloppy with this. So that's done. Takeoff config, that's what I was doing. So if we go to the performance page, we need to calculate our takeoff. So if we go to takeoff performance now, you can see this is set up for runway 07. The wind is from the north. It won't be from the northwest, it'll be from the southeast. But relative to runway 07, it's from the top right. So we'll get a headwind of 4 knots and a crosswind of 3 knots from the right. Okay, runway 07, wind is from the east, in fact, just past the east, at 5 knots. Outside air temperature is 2, so we will need our wing and engine anti-icing on, especially when there's visible moisture in the air. So that's just going to cause an icing hazard. We are going to... How do we do? Compute. There we go. So the ASD, the accelerated stop distance, is going to be 7,037 feet. Gives us a stop margin of 576 feet. So we need to be very, very disciplined when we join the runway down here. We don't want to take up any additional space because we do not have a lot of spare room for accelerated stop. V1 is 139, V rotate is 146, V2, so that's best rate of climb with one engine in case there's an issue, is 148. So 394648, 139, 146, 148. Okay, so we've got our V speeds. We will also be doing flaps 1 takeoff. Runway will be runway 07. Can I set it there, or do I have to go into the flight plan to set that? I'll have to go into the flight plan. Let's do that now. Flight plan. Is my microphone a bit loud? There we go. So from EGNT, let's set up our departure. Runway 07. Sure, we're on the Girly 1 Tango departure, so let's just go into here, go down to our route. Not that page. It says Girly 3 X-ray, so I'm guessing this is anticipating a runway 25. Yeah, runway 25. So we've changed the plan slightly. Let's do runway 07 with a Girly 1 Tango. Temporary insert that. We should start to see on our nav display. We take off from 07. We're going to do a big right hand turn, and then if I just go to the plan page, whoop, and then zoom out, you can see the route. So we're going to go turn right, down to Gurley, down to Tilney, down to Uvavu, Gasco, Setel. We're going to join the Setel arrival. What was the Setel one that we're going to join? Gasco, Setel, and then we're going to join. Doesn't say. It does say it in the route planning though. So Newcastle, P18 Tilney, Setel, Setel 1 Mike. So there we go, Setel 1 Mike. Arrival into Manchester. So Setel, whoops, let's go back. We need to go to the arrival airport, hit arrival, and we will press to the right to look at the stars, the standard terminal arrival routes, and we are going to do the Setel 1 Mike. Temporary flight plan, insert, and we haven't set the runway yet because that's just going to take us onto the arrival, and then we'll get the actual runway from air traffic control. If they're online, should we have a quick look? So I use a tool called Xpilot, which you can see here. Let's just connect Airbus Industry 305, Airbus 339. Let's connect. See if we've got any controllers. You normally do. It's a Saturday morning, Saturday lunchtime. We should have somebody online. We even have controllers at Newcastle online. Here in Harvey. So let's go get the ATIS 118.38. 118.38. If you think he sounds like he's got a bit of cold.
Transition level 70. Wind calm. Visi 2000 meters. Light drizzle. Mist. Ceiling 300 overcast. Temperature 2. Dew point 1. QNH.
You can cheat a bit just by double clicking on that, so it'll give you all the information here.
PDC available. Threshold elevation
ground is 121.
Newcastle information. Acknowledge receipt of
information.
Echo.
Echo.
Time 1150.
Get my notebook out.
Runway in use 25. Transition level 70. Wind calm.
So
Visibility
information
2000
Echo.
meters.
We're at stand
Light drizzle,
25.
mist. Ceiling 300 overcast. Temperature
Ceiling 300.
Dew point 1. QNH 1019.
Transition level 70.
Visibility procedures act.
QNH.
PDC available. Threshold elevation 239 feet.
QNH 1019.
Newcastle information.
So when reading that back, you need to give the QNH just so that they know that you've heard it. 121.
Transition level 70.
73, that was right.
Visibility 2000 meters.
Okay. So we'll have a chat with ground in just a moment. We'll get our clearance, and then we'll taxi out to runway 07. We'll request 07. It looks to me like the sun might be starting to burn through that fog, which is good. Quite cool. Let's get back to our checklists. So we've got our takeoff data. I am not doing the fire tests again. We've got the APU switched on. When APU is available, external power is off, APU bleed is on. So let's just double check. We have the APUs available. APU bleed is already on. So if we turn those off, we shouldn't lose power, which we haven't. That's checked. That's checked. External power is off. External power disconnect. So let's go into the ICSC, ground services. Let's turn off the external power. We can turn off the air as well because we've now got APU air, but we're going to keep the chocks in place. So we've requested that. Push back start and clearance. So this is the next stage, and this is where we finally start flying. I'm going to quickly jump outside just to do a quick flight control test. So nothing's started yet, of course. Silly man. So once we start to turn things on, then it will work. So let me just check. So the APU bleed is on, we've got no fault lights there, we've got... Oh, that's what you shouldn't do. That's how you lose power. By turning off your APU bleed. Not APU bleed, APU generator. Hopefully I didn't lose all my settings there. That would be really very, very annoying. I think I might have, you know. Map not available. Oh, don't say I have to do that again. Don't worry, I won't. I can always just skip it. In here. Don't want to do it, but if I need to, I can just jump straight to add root APU on. Let's see, okay, system has recovered. Do I still have my flight plan? No, I don't. Okay, very, very quickly, let me just pop this back in. AGNT, EGCC, 01. Flying at, that's fine. Flying at 150, pax number 198. Cost index 17. Zero fuel weights being retained, that's good. Block fuels being retained. Performance figures, V1, so that was 136. 146. I think that was 139 actually, 139. 146, 148. Flaps will be 1. Doesn't show a runway on there, so we need to go back into flight plan. Departing from runway 07, Girly 1 Tango, and then at EGCC we'll be arriving on the Setel 1 mic. We're going to skip straight across to the star. Don't really need to do this now. We could do this in the air, but there we go. Temporary flight plan, insert, have a quick look. Everything looks good. Yep. Oh, right, I'm sure we'll miss something now that we've had to do that again, but we'll find out soon enough. Let's ground control, that's Captain Purser. I think it has retained a lot of... Oh, I haven't restarted the aircraft, so yeah, that makes sense. Okay, checklists. Pushback, start clearance. Let's go and get clearance to Manchester. What's that? Ground. So, the request is going to be Newcastle Ground, Airbus Industry 305, Stand 25, no, Airbus A330-900, Stand 25, request clearance to Manchester. And then I just need to set up my audio, is that right? That's all good. Okay, here we go. Newcastle Ground, Airbus Industry 305, Airbus A330-900, stand 25, request clearance to Manchester.
Airbus Industry 305, Newcastle Ground, good afternoon, cleared Manchester, Girly 3 X-ray departure, squawk 2175.
Airbus Industry 305, cleared to Manchester via the Girly 3 X-ray departure and squawk 2175, Airbus 305.
Airbus 305, read that correct, information echo QNH 1019.
We've got information echo, QNH 1019, Airbus Industry 305. Cool. 2175, we're going to have to change our departure runway as well, 2175. 7775. Let's go in here, and so SimBrief was correct. For some reason the 3 X-ray, for some reason the computer in this did not like 25, which makes sense because the wind is actually coming from that direction, so we will have a slight tailwind component. If we do go into the takeoff performance in here, set this to 25. So previously we had a 576 foot stop margin. If we change it this way, go to compute, we've lost 50 feet of stop margin, but we still have quite a good margin, and 7,881 feet of accelerate stop distance. Okay. Let's get our startup and push clearance. Ground Airbus Industry 305, request push and start.
Airbus Industry 305, stand 25, push and start approved.
Push and start approved, stand 25, Airbus 305. Okay. What do I need to do here? I need to open up something that I use called Better Pushback.
Ground to cockpit, please show me where you want to go. Ground to cockpit, tow is driving up.
That guy is so loud. Okay, so we have obtained pushback startup clearance. We need to turn the beacon light on. Just up here, beacon light is on. Beacon is on. ATC transponder to we need to set that. So this is basically the mode. See, I wouldn't turn that to TA just yet. Not until we get... Oh no, sorry, so that's the ATC setting. Set it to auto. Yeah, that's fine. If in doubt, set it to auto. Now what you'll find here is when the tug drives up, just quickly jump outside and maybe a bit loud. Let's try and turn that down a bit. What it'll actually do...
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect.
So what it'll do is it'll drive under the nose wheel and it'll actually pick up the aircraft. So you'll see the nose going up in just a second. Any second now. So better pushback, it's free. Go and get it. It's amazing. Come on, lift the nose wheel. There we go. See it's starting to lift the nose wheel. It's quite cool from inside as well. See it being lifted up. So it's going to ask us to turn off parking brake. Do that in a moment. I just want to make sure that we've got everything in here done. So that's set, windows, doors closed, thrust levers are idle, parking brake, I'm not going to check that, parking brake as required. So now we can turn this off. That loud man's going to talk to us again. Okay, engine start. Engine start selector is in norm. Where's it gone? There it is. APU bleed to off. Engine anti-ice is currently off. APU master... Oh, hang on, that's the wrong one. Thrust levers to idle. Ignition start. Set that to start, and then set the engine 1 to master. Engine 1 master to start. Engine start selector is done. Starting engine 1. Engine master 1. 2 on. And then this should change because I haven't got anything selected down here. That'll give us our engine. So we've got N2 speed. The internal turbine is... Oh, hang on, I've just knocked the parking brake on. N2 is the internal turbine. Spinning up. Fuel used is currently 0. Oil pressure is still low. I've got ignition showing up here. Exhaust gas temperatures showing here. We should start to see fuel used here. Why can't we see fuel flow? Oh, there it is, fuel flow. 380 pounds per hour. Exhaust gas temperatures increasing. Big fan at the front. The N1 is starting to turn. Nose wheel steering disconnected. Exhaust gas temperature's getting pretty high. That's good. Not too high, just you wouldn't want to put your face in front of it. Why aren't we moving? So parking brake is off. What else are you waiting for? No weight or CG data. Performance. Oh, why is all this being removed? 139, 146, 148, flaps 1, Flex temperature. We're going to do a flex. Flex standard. Compute flex 71. Format error. Why is 71 not being accepted? Okay, looks like we're doing a toga takeoff. Performance init. Fuel on board. We do have 0 fuel weight in there. Don't know why it's complaining. Engine master 1 is on. That was fine. And then we'll do engine 2. So engine 2. Nose wheel steering. Fuel, no weight, CG data. Why is it saying that? I have given you everything you've asked for. Flex to temp. 17. Fuel prediction. Gross weight, CG is in. I don't know. I've got a horrible feeling this isn't going to allow us to do things if it thinks we haven't given it all the information it needs. And this better pushback is not being very good. It's not being very better. So let's try it again. Oops. Plugins, better pushback, stop pushback. We'll just
Disconnecting tow, stand by.
turn it off, turn it back on again. So lowering down. Can we restart it now? Let's turn off X-Pilot so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going down to better pushback. I've stopped the pushback. So we've got 2 engines are on now. Now then if we reconnect.
Please show me where you want to go.
So better pushback. Start
Ground to
pushback.
cockpit. Please show me where you want to go.
Ah, so I think I got confused. So we want to be pushing to there. Is that right? There.
So connected.
There we go.
Bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Parking brake is still released. Got nose wheel steering disconnected there. So if it doesn't know what our fuel in CG is, then we may have to fly this manually. We have to just do trim manually or something like that, but that's fine. We will figure it out. Why isn't this? Come on. Come on, come on, come on. So what was our... if we go into here, loading perf. Zero fuel weight 398. CG is 25.4. We do 25.4 with a slash in front of it. Yes, we do. Okay. So you saw the trim wheel turn there. I think that's probably all it was complaining about. Take off. Signs should be on, so set that to auto. Spoilers should be armed, so pull that up. Auto brake config set to max. Take off config check set to normal. Predictive wind shear is still off, which is here. So that's auto. And better pushback is doing absolutely nothing for us right now. So, silly thing. Ground services. Manual pushback. How do I do this? Is this a competing tug? Yes it is. This is now the Toliss tug, hopefully is going to take us.
Disconnected. A bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the right.
Whoa.
See you next time and have a safe flight.
What happened there? Okay, so we are being... don't know if I like this. Not getting in anyone's way, am I? I've got no idea what's going on here. Okay, jump back inside. Why is it so hard just to get the bloody plane to push back in this stupid thing? Ah, it might be because I had my chocks on. That would explain it. Okay, are you gonna release me? How do I get this guy away? Plugins, Toliss, Ground Services. How do I get the guy off? Come on.
Ground, good afternoon, cleared. Bristol, 33 X-ray departure, took 074 west.
What if I do start auto pushback? What does that do? No, 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 wrong way, wrong way, wrong way, wrong way. Just disconnect, just let me do it. Just go away, just let me do it. Come on, disconnect. Disconnect. Put my parking brake on now. Ah, wish I'd never even started with this bloody pushback. Okay, I want to do something that you're not supposed to do. I am going to engage reverse thrust. And try and do what's called a power back. Which is absolutely not working. So I'm going to do a U-turn here. Get back on that taxiway. Ah, that was a disaster, wasn't it? Very annoying. I don't want this air traffic controller to think that I'm taxiing without permission. I kind of want them just to think that this is me being pushed back by a stupid tug driver. I'm just going to park up there. Okay. Parking brake is on. Let's go back to our checklist. After start, engine start selector norm. You're probably too young to remember what that means. APU bleed set to off, because we've now got bleed coming from the engines. We should now be able to turn off. So engine and wing anti-ice as required. So this is where we do actually need to put these on, because we are very cold outside and we have visible moisture. It's 2 degrees. APU master, if APU not required, we'll turn off the APU. That should then turn off as well. Ground spoilers we've armed. Rudder trim was 0. Flaps is currently at 0. Set it to 1. Or all the way down for some reason. Set it to 1. And then we should see up here. That's 1 plus F. Do takeoff config.
All stations, Newcastle information, Foxtrot is current.
Foxtrot.
Overcast 200.
Overcast 200. So there should be no change in QNH, otherwise he would have given us the new QNH. Flaps are set. Pitch trim is auto. Nose wheel steer, disconnect memo. Correct. We don't have the nose wheel steering disconnected. ECAM, all slides armed. So if we go into the door page, doors, we've got all slides are armed, all doors are closed. If they were open, it shows orange. ECAM doors don't clear to disconnect. Taxi clearance. Okay, let's try and get ahead of this rush. Ground Airbus 305 request taxi clearance.
Industry 305, taxi holding point Delta 3, runway 25 via Delta.
Taxi holding point Delta 3 for runway 25 via Delta, Airbus Industry 305. Okay, have I lost my X-Pilot? Nope, there it is. Got it. So, Delta is this one just to our left here, so if we disconnect the parking brake, give her just a little bit of thrust. It's quite quiet that, isn't it? Just turn it up a touch. There is a way in here that I can change the config. Maybe once we're in the air. I'll do that. Very quiet.
Easy 4 Juliet, Mike, stand 5, push and start approved.
So get out ahead of the EasyJet. So because the nose wheel is behind the cockpit, you kind of have to steer, you have to turn, go way into the corner before you start to turn into it. It's a really good video. It's an ITVV video, which is I think it was called something like Intelligent Television and Video, something like that. But there was a Air Tours A330 flight run by an ex-Navy pilot, in a new, well, not a new, I think it was new on the A330. It was his first oceanic flight, but it was like a video following the crew and everything that they did during the flight. And they talked about the need to steer well into turns before turning the nose wheel. That's where I've got it from, and it works. So, you know, credit to them. So we've got the flight directors on. Dash dash. We've got an initial clearance will be on the SID to 6,000. We will be constrained at 8,000 at Gurley just because there is an altitude constraint. QNH we haven't set, 1019. Changing my pressure setting while steering a plane around a corner. Who says men can't multitask? My wife, for one.
Passenger trees 305. No further ATC, monitor Unicom 122.8. Good day.
Unicom 122.8, thanks for all the help, Airbus 305. Okay, switch to Unicom. So that's 122.8. Really hope we're not steering off the taxiway. Whew, didn't go too far. We can see 122.8 is up in the top left hand corner. So that's Delta 6. We've been cleared at Delta 3. But really we can do what we want now that we're effectively uncontrolled. Mwahaha. Evil laugh. I feel like I don't have my taxi light on. I should have done, so I've got nose light should be on taxi, that's right. Ooh, we've got a shuttle coming in. Nose light, no, not to take off, just a taxi. So that's the British Airways shuttle from Heathrow. Just coming into land there. Why does that windsock not match the windsock that was shown in the runway configuration page? So Delta 3, there's Delta 1, may have missed Delta 3, that Delta 3? It's Delta 2, okay, completely busted through my clearance, but it's fine, uncontrolled and all that. Just going to pause here at the holding point and do my checklists. Stop here, put the parking brake on, bosh. Tell quick look. So we've got, we'll turn on the chrono in just a second. So we did a quick check of the flight controls, got ATC clearance. Flight plan is on Gurley 3 X-ray, initial climb speed limit is checked. FCU altitude just set to 6,000. FCU heading is blanked out because we don't need that. FD is set on. FMAs are, flight mode enunciators are set to climb and nav. Flight instruments are checked, so we've got 10 degrees there, 10 degrees there, and if we look up here we've got 10 degrees on the backup compass. That all looks good. Departure briefing, we're going to take off shortly and fly to Manchester. Done. Auto brake, set that to max just before. Terrain on ND not required, no high terrain around here. ATC TCAS mode, so we're going to set this for takeoff. So we're going to set that to TARA. And we're going to set that to, that's auto, that's on, that's on. Do we have EasyJet behind us? Quick check. Not yet. That's fine. We're a heavy jet anyway, so they'll have to wait for us. So that's fine. Weather radar. How do I turn that on? That's on. That's set to WX, which is weather. And then, is there not a WX button somewhere? Tilt, that's manual scan. Not gonna work. Who knows? Okay, we don't need that anyway. And then, right, somebody needs to remind me to hit the chrono button when we take off. WX, I'll set that to auto. Takeoff config test. Takeoff config test, that's fine. Memo no blue. Test memo, no blue. Cabin report is fine. Brake temp is fine. Takeoff landing clearance, we'll do that in a second. It's already TARA, takeoff runway confirm, approach path. Strobe lights. Strobe lights need to go on, wing lights need to go on, landing lights need to go on, nose light needs to go to takeoff. Runway turn off lights, seatbelt signs are on. On, and takeoff. Takeoff clearance obtained, that's set to takeoff. They're all on. Going to announce that. We'll release the brakes, we'll do a toga no, can we do, oh we couldn't do a 71-degree flex takeoff because it wouldn't accept it, and then we'll hit chrono. Okay, so have a quick look up on the approach path, do a quick look on the map here as well. We are good. Looks like somebody's just taken off that way, which is interesting. And then we'll announce our intentions. Newcastle traffic, Airbus Industry 305, lining up for departure, runway 25. Airbus, correction, Newcastle. Oh bloody hell, that was awful. Right, let's go. Let's get out of here before somebody realises that I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, it is quite quiet even for me. Maybe the Neo is just that quiet. A lot of inertia in this plane as well, so once you're moving you don't need any thrust. The weight of the aircraft will just drag you along. The nose wheel is very, very slow to move. Very, very, very slow. Newcastle traffic, Airbus Industry 305, runway 25, rolling, Newcastle. Okay, so we'll go for a full toga takeoff. Oh, what now? Pitch, disagree? Really? Ugh. We'll figure that out in the air. Real pilots, please don't do that. So, waiting for our V1 of 139, which means that we can't stop safely on the runway. I'd like to try that out sometime. V1. Rotate. Positive rate, gear up. Follow that green cross on the primary flight display. We've got no visual cues outside, so we'll just bring that up here. Put the throttle back into the climb mode, lower the nose while doing our turn. EasyJet's taken off behind us. So we'll get through the slat retraction speed, which is 183-ish? No, 186-ish. Clouds outside are getting lighter, so hopefully we'll bust through this low layer of mist shortly. Gone through the slat retraction speed, which means that we can start to accelerate, start to see things getting really bright outside. Struggling to stay on my cross. It's just too pretty outside not to have a quick look. Okay, at this point I'm going to put the autopilot on just while I go through my additional checks. I'm also going to set my altitude to be my final cruise, which is 15,000 feet.
Newcastle traffic ET4 Juliet Mike at runway 25, taking off for a Gale 3 X-ray departure. Newcastle traffic.
Look at that, beautiful. Okay, so let's turn that off. I thought I was going to open the window there for a second. That would be disastrous. I don't actually think even at this altitude it would happen because of the pressure differential, but there we go. Let's quickly go through the rest of this. I didn't set the chrono. I never, ever, ever, ever remember the bloody chrono. There we go. Okay, chrono start. Directional control, use rudder. Yes, we've taken off now, so this can all just be ticked. Rotate. Positive climb announced. Landing gear went up. Thrust levers to climb. Packs 1 and 2 are on, otherwise they'd be lit up with the off light. Flaps 1, then flaps retract. Ground spoiler disarm. So this is where we need to come down here. And there's a little indicator somewhere. Where do I see the indicator? Maybe I don't. I'll just pop it all the way down. There we go. The plane is complaining at me because I need to set this to standard. Go on. Or do I pull it for standard? Pull for standard. It's now on standard. And we've got an altitude constraint on the flight mode enunciators there. I'm just going to hold this at 8,000. What a beautiful day above the clouds. Absolutely disgusting. Okay, do we have anybody at Manchester? We've got ground.
Newcastle traffic ET4 Juliet Mike clear runway 25, Newcastle traffic.
Information Tango. Let's write down that. So EGCC, Information Tango. For some reason I put it in a box, but that's just my thing. Surface wind calm. Transition level, flight level 60. Moderate mist, scattered 700, overcast to 1,000. QNH 1018. Departing aircraft information. Runway in use. 23 right. Is that for both departing and arriving? Must be. Okay, so we'll set that up in here. Go to our flight plan. Click on EGCC 23 right. ILS 23 right. We will use an ILS, and then we'll continue to use our SETI 1 mic. Insert that, and then the aircraft knows exactly where it needs to go. EGCC ATIS, EGCC ground. So that's it. No more control anywhere. There's no centers online. No approach. EGNM. What's that? Is that T side? Leeds. Oh yeah, Leeds. Of course it is. So we should be through the altitude constraint at Gurley. We'll see the fuel flow increasing, which means the engine will increase, and then we'll see some vertical speed. Let's just zoom out a little bit, see where we're going next. Going down there to Gasco, we have a discontinuity after Gasco, so let's go sort that out. Flight plan. I then clear that discontinuity. Insert what's there, so we'll go Gasco, Setel. Gasco off to the right to Setel, that seems... Oh no, that's right, to Setel. You can see these other aircraft as well. It's great that on the Toliss TCAS system it actually shows you which direction they're flying into, which is nice. So they are very low down. 9,000 feet below, so they're probably on the ground with their TCAS set to TA. Interesting. Wind is from the west. Ground speed is nearly 300 knots. True airspeed is 330 303, 304, 305. So we're climbing at 1,000 feet a minute and accelerating. These are just amazing engines. And it's a lovely day to fly. So when we go through 10,000 feet, which we have done, so we've done that, check that's done, landing gear is checked, nose light should be off, nav light should just be in nav, nose light should be off, runway light can come off, landing light can come off as well, as can wing light. Should have the backup standby compass on, and because it's such a nice day, we'll turn off the seatbelts. We're probably above all of the moisture, so we can turn off engine and wing anti-ice. After takeoff, APU bleed. APU bleed, did we not turn that off before? That's off. APU master's off, turn that off on the ground. TCAS TAR is already on, and we've turned off the anti-ice. Climb, MCD pilot flying, perform climb, MCD pilot monitoring, flight plan monitoring, FCU, FMGS as required. At transition altitude we'll set that as standard, weather radar as required, can't figure out how to turn that on. Engine anti-ice as required, landing light I've just turned off, seatbelts have just gone off, EFIS as required, ECAM memo, so if we go down here and hit recall, we'll still see normal at the top here. So the Airbus is clever. If something happens during takeoff that doesn't require immediate attention, so basically something's not on fire, it won't actually flash up. It'll wait until you're in the air, and it'll wait until you've hit recall before it'll display those things to you. So it doesn't want to distract the pilot during takeoff. In the same way that air traffic control, unless there's an emergency, will not contact a pilot during the takeoff run or during the final stages of landing, because it will distract them. ECAM memo we've done, nav aids we're not using those, secondary flight plan we don't use at the minute, optimal max altitude is not a consideration on this flight because it's so short. Review the ECAM again, this page is flight progress, check the fuel, nav accuracy, step flight level we've done, we're at our top cruising altitude, weather radar still can't figure out how to turn it on, cabin temperature, it's fine. Descent preparation. Not descending yet. That's just telling the pilots what they should each be doing. Speed brakes is required. Terrain on ND is not required. Weather radar still can't figure out how to turn it on. Barra reference is 1018 QNH. ECAM status, and then when we get down to 10,000 again, we'll start turning on the lights and the seatbelts. Oh, right, we are motoring here. So what's next? Gasco. Where is our top of climb? Top of descent. That should be, so enter destination data. Performance. Next phase will be descent, and then arrival, we'll be landing it with 1018 QNH. What's the temperature? So if I hit WXEGCC, temperature there is 04. Top of descent reached already. Jeez Louise, is going quick. So let's start doing our arrival. So we'll go down to 1300 and we'll pull. Or do we push? Push, then it's managed, and we get the little dot. So we manage descent. So take all the energy out of the system, start our descent. What else do we need in here? The wind is variable. Doesn't help, does it? At 2 knots, so that's fine. So we'll just call it. Can you actually type in variable? At 2? No. I would like to be notified 200 feet above the ground on the radio altimeter. 1018. but it's fine. We'll be visual from 1,400 feet anyway. And we'll do a full flap. Should we do full flap, or should we do... Yeah, let's do full flap. Are we descending? We're descending. What's the next waypoint here? So Gasco, flight level 150, and then Setel, flight level 107. Setel's there, so we should see flight level 107. I was going to try and sort out the audio, so we'll go to ISCS, sounds and add-ons. Ooh, that's better. Save these settings. Bit nicer to hear those big Trent 7000 engines. What can I say out this window? Can I even see the wing? Oh, I can just make out the wing over there. With its A330 logo on it. Sim can't work out if it's sunlight or not. I suppose there are clouds above. Okay, let's do a radio call. Manchester traffic, Airbus Industry 305, overhead Setel, joining the Setel 1 mic arrival for runway 23 right, Manchester. Should have given my altitude as well, but didn't. So there's a constraint below us of flight level 070, and that'll be because the departing traffic will stay at flight level 060. It just gives us some nice vertical separation from the departing traffic. Keeps everybody nice and safe. So our speed is still coming down. We are still following the route from Setel. And we'll turn onto EGCC. Approach runway 23 right. We do need to get set up, so are we through 10,000 feet? Not yet, but I always forget to do this, so put seatbelts on, landing lights on, go back to our checklists over here. Landing lights on, seatbelts on, EFIS options, we've got a constraint. We will put the landing system on here, just because I like to have it on and see the radio beacons starting to tune. Radio nav, we don't do that. The computer manages it all for us. ILS approach, so seatbelts are already on. We're not going to enable the approach phase just yet. Just watching that traffic off to the left, I think that is... The 931 must be on the ground, 64 may be coming into Manchester, so we need to monitor for that. Just zoom in a touch. EGCC ground, Scottish South Centre out of their airspace. So, straight back into the cloud layer. So, ILS is tuned. You're about to watch me do a landing, or attempt to. I've got no idea how this is going to go. When I am flying the Cessna, or learning to fly the Cessna, I should say, when we're coming into land, we always assume we will go around. We always prepare to go around. We assume that the landing will be terrible, especially as a student. So we prepare to throttle up, close the carb heat, manage the pitch, monitor airspeed, all that good stuff. But if we do manage to get the wheels down, stay on the centre line, and we're happy, then we will land. But we'll take the same approach here. We will not assume that we will land. Is there some way of... I'm just wondering, do we not have the published go-around? No, somebody on the ground at Manchester? Don't seem to have the published go-around for 2-3 right programmed in. Still coming down through the cloud layer. So let's just double check what the transition altitude is. Transition flight level is 60. So once we get down to 60, we will then change our pressure setting to QNH1018. Just double check that's still the case. Now into uniform. Scattered at 1,000, so the cloud base is dropping. Oh no. QNH1018 still. Can't hear that. Rosen, okay. It's only taken us 17 minutes to get here. Manchester traffic, Airbus Industry 305, flight level 64. Descending on the Setel 1 Mike arrival for runway 23 right, Manchester. So we aren't going to see anything until 1,000 feet, 1,400 feet, and then there will still be clouds beneath that. So the standard pressure setting down there is starting to flash at us. 1018. There we go. We're going to get an alert at 200 feet above the ground, measured by the radio altimeter, which is like a radio beacon that goes down from from underneath the plane, bounces off the ground, bounces back up to the plane. Then there's measuring equipment to see how long each pulse took. That's very accurate. Now, especially north of Manchester, where there are quite a few hills, there's the Lake District. So I always like to just keep an eye on the bottom of the primary flight display, because this will give you your radio altitude. So the distance from the bottom of the plane to any ground returns that it sees, and when it comes into when it starts to see those returns, it should immediately say with the automated voice 2,500, and then we know that it's working. So we are currently flying, we're descending down to the next altitude constraint, which is 3,500 feet. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to enable the approach mode. Just check that we have Cat 3 single enabled. So we've activated the approach, we're monitoring the vertical path, manage speed, speed brakes. Speed brakes, we can arm the speed brakes.
Traffic EZ959 departure, runway 23 right, aircraft 138 Manchester traffic.
Auto brake medium, speed brakes as required, nav accuracy is fine with the radar, still haven't figured that out. Press the approach button, autopilot 1+2 engaged, can we do both? 1+2, yep we can, so that's now Cat 3 dual, that's what we need for a full auto land, but we're not going to do that today. Localizer and glide slope mode, so we've got glide slope there, localizer is armed, the aircraft is now starting to pick up the approach path. Auto brake medium, so localizer is armed. We should start to see the localizer diamond come in as we get closer to that. Watch that pink diamond on the left here, that'll start to slide to the middle. Got an altitude constraint on the FMAs. So they are armed, flaps to 1. A bit high for that. So at green dot speed, so we're coming down to green dot speed, which is minimum clean. Glide slope and localizer are established. There's the localizer, there's the glide slope. Slightly accelerating, we might need a little bit of speed brakes in fact. 2,500, there's a radio altimeter coming in. I'm going to drop 1 notch of flaps, just to give us a bit of drag. We are a bit fast for that, to be fair. Manchester traffic, Airbus Industry 305, final runway 23 right, Manchester. So everybody needs to get out of our way. Ah, we do have the go around is on there now. So let's drop the speed brakes out. Why are we speeding up? So I've gone down to manual idle, full speed brakes. We are going way, way, way too fast here. Turn those off. Let's go around. Gear up. Flaps up. Manchester traffic, Airbus Industry 305 going around runway 23 right, Manchester. Okay, so we're now going to go on the published, go around at the published missed approach, turn on the autopilot, and then we need to set up for another approach. So let's head up to settle, so we'll go do a direct to settle, direct to insert. So I need to reduce speed much earlier. So we're at 3,000 feet. Settle, flight level 121. Let's get back up to 10,000 feet. pull it so that we go straight up as an open climb. You wanted excitement today, didn't you? Back into the pea soup. Let's see if we can give ourselves a little bit of a shortcut here. So we could just fly to Rosen and do a UE. So let's do direct Rosen, direct, and then after Rosen we want to be down to 5,000 feet. So I'm actually going to take us to 7,000 feet because that's our MSA. We can open climb to 7,000. Thrust is in, set that as standard. Got outer tank transfer in there. How are we doing for fuel? Let's have a quick look at our fuel level. Still got 16 tons, 17 tons in the wings. Ah yeah, because we've got fuel tanks in front of the main wing tanks. So at 7,000 feet, that should keep us clear of anything in the Lake District or the Peak District. Keep us above the UK's highest peaks, or England's highest peaks at least. So we're then going to do a right turn, and then we'll try that again. Like I said, we always assume we're going to go around, and the landing is just a bonus, which hopefully we'll do this time. All of the EGCC radio ATCs have gone offline. Okay, right hand turn coming up. Do you ever reach down for a power cable, find that it's caught on something, and give it a bit of a tug, and then the whole universe falls over? Well, that's just what's happened. So that's fun. Okay, so we've set 7,000, but now we need to start descending. Let's go down to 3,000 feet. So we'll do 3,000, and if we push it in, why isn't that giving me managed? So flight level 70 at Rosen. No idea why that's not allowing me to set that as a managed. What's going on? This is now saying it'll be at flight level 8.5 when we get to the final approach fix for 2-3. That doesn't seem right. Okay, we need to be very careful here because we are over high ground and we are using an open descent, so let's just keep our wits about us. The aircraft is not behaving as it should be. Flight, oh hang on, have I got my speed brakes still down? What an idiot. It's not going to help, is it? Surprised there was no alarms for that, but maybe I turned it off. Nope, no idea why that's not allowing me to do that. If I push that back in, 1018. And then that's our initial and final approach fix. Let's give another radio call. Manchester traffic, Airbus Industry 305, turning on to a 15-mile final for runway 23 right, Manchester. Sorry, I meant to mute there. It was me chugging some Pepsi Max. Very thirsty work, this failing miserably to fly a plane. Let's just double check. So we've still got our auto brake is on, our landing gear still down. That's not going to help, is it? Is that what's stopping us from doing managed mode? Okay, so gear is up. You can start to see the ground here. It's slightly disconcerting. Why doesn't that let me? Scary. So this is auto-ortho. So this is satellite imagery injected into the sim. It's not as good as Flight Simulator 2024, I will give them that. But this is still my favourite flight sim. Flight sim? Yes, flight sim. Hit the approach button. Green dot speed. Let's start bringing the flaps down a little bit early. Oh, too fast for that. Flaps 1. Oops, what was that? TA, FMA checked. Localizer capture. Gear down. Sorry, we're just going to have to put up that for a moment. While we slow down. Shut up. 2,000 feet on the glide slope. Glide slope established, localizer established. Manchester traffic, Airbus Industry 305, 5-mile final runway 23 right, Manchester. Okay, I'm going to disable the autopilot. I'm going to attempt to fly this down myself. We have, so we need flap relief. my... Don't understand why it's not, turn off the auto thrust. Should have done a while ago. Let me give me my auto overspeed again.
Too low. Terrain. 500.
That should give me...
Too low. Terrain.
I'm not too low.
400.
I'm literally
low.
coming into
Terrain.
land.
300.
Very, very fast though. Very, very fast.
200. Minimum.
Can't do any more flaps because he'll beep at me. Just like that.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard. 10, 5.
Not my best work. And I'm not sure we're gonna stop this in time. Why don't the brakes work very well? Nah. Nope, nope, nope. It's all gone Pete Tong. Okay. Let's just very quickly disconnect from X-Pilot while we go for a little bit of a tour around these Manchester woods. And that, my friends, is how you land an Airbus A330. I hope you've learned a lot. For example, not to fly with me. Okay, so it's very important that we follow procedure. As you know, I'm a stickler for procedure and good operational practices. Knock the engines off so we can jump outside and see that we are now sliding with our parking brake on down a hill. And with that, my friends, I'm going to leave you to your Saturday, and I wish you well. Thank you for joining us on, hang on, let me find it, our Toliss, hang on, I'm a terrible director as well, get rid of those things. There we go. Thank you for joining us on our Toliss A330-900 flight test, and next time I'll try and be a better pilot. Enjoy your day.